All right, so we are joined by the Vice President of Manufacturing at Nissan North America, right up the road in Canton, Victor Taylor. We thank you so much for joining us today. We're in the STEM career cluster. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for our friends at Rosa Scott, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So we thank you so much for fitting us in your tight schedule today.
Good morning, everyone. I love the energy as well too. So I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but now you got me a little pumped up. So hopefully I can reciprocate that energy.
All right, awesome. Now, before we jump into what all it is you do as your background in engineering, what all you guys do at Nissan, take us back to your educational and college background. I know you're originally from California,
Yeah.
and then went to Alcorn State. So take us from there.
Okay. So I have roots in the South. My mother is actually from Coldwater, Mississippi. So there's probably not a lot of people who know where Coldwater is, but it's in the Delta, not too far from Tunica. I went to Alcorn State University, got a degree in industrial technology / engineering. And then I didn't know that there was a lot of opportunities in Mississippi. So I actually left Mississippi, went all the way to the East Coast, and started working for Corning, and I was a packaging engineer as my first job. So worked with Martha Stewart's line. This is long before she got arrested. And her line of Corning cookware, different things of that nature, then ended back up in California and worked for a wine company called E&J Gallo as well too, and designing their lines and different layouts. And at that same time, I got my master's in business at California State as well too, because I knew that you're going to need to get an MBA in order to further your career. So just having an undergrad degree is great, but if you want to get to an executive level, you need that business degree and you need that business acumen in order to be more successful.
Absolutely, and also getting the experience through, whether it be through internships through your college or getting those first jobs. You may have to move a little bit, but in order to get to that end goal, there has to be a good combination of that.
You were spot on. I probably lived in six different states within my career,
Wow.
and it's just a lot of it is opportunities presented themselves. I wasn't afraid of those opportunities, and all those opportunities led to upward growth.
That's awesome. Now, before we get into the engineering, like the root of it, one thing I always ask, because I like hearing about this, you have a good combination of HBCU and PWI.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And obviously both offer great things in different ways. There's pros and cons of both that I think are, need to be talked about, because these kids are getting ready in a few years to make their college decisions. Some of them are dead set on HBCU. Some of them are kind of on the fence. Some are dead set on PWI, and that's fine. Everybody's fit is different. So talk a little bit about what the HBCU and PWI combination offers as far as pros and cons.
Okay, so I'll take it, but I'll start personal before I go academic. So personal, Natalie Ballard, who couldn't be here today, actually reached out to me personally, and I went to Alcorn State with her, and we communicate to this day. Like, we have a very personal relationship. The personal relationships that I have all come from HBCUs. Every last personal relationship, most of the people that I communicate from the collegiate level all started at HBCUs. It's that family-oriented environment, and that you guys are working together and you grow together. There's no value or price tag I can put onto that. Now, I will say, when you start talking a public university versus an HBCU, it's definitely more massive. So I went from a classroom environment of maybe at max 30 people up to 150 people within our classroom. So you can get lost in the shuffle a little bit if you don't buckle down and do the things that you need to do. So the homestead environment that I really got when I was at Alcorn, I had to grow up very quickly when I got into a larger public university from that standpoint. So that standpoint, I think from an education standpoint, the two are very comparable. It's definitely very comparable. So if I wanted to look at from education standpoint, it's definitely very comparable. Any undergrad school you're going to go to, you're going to have to get an advanced degree, regardless if you want to continue to grow up within the community. Unless you just go into a more specialized industry and you're okay with that. But I think the two, I appreciate the experiences from both. And I wouldn't take away anything from either one. I myself personally, it was better for me to start at an HBCU, just because, and some of my study habits weren't the best, and in a smaller environment, I was able to foster and do very well.
Absolutely. And again, that's what I always say is I tell kids to pick the place that fits them best. Don't go somewhere because of your friends or because your parents want you to go somewhere or because of 5 home football games. Go somewhere that fits your needs as a student the best. And I just cannot stress that enough. Now, Nissan North America, obviously one of the best employers and one of the best places to work in the state of Mississippi or in the country. We have a lot of kids that tell me, I'm going to graduate and I hate hearing this. Oh, I'm just going to go work at Nissan. Like you can just go knock on the door and start working there. Now, even if somebody does not want to go the college route, you guys have unbelievable careers for people that learn trades, for people that can come out of high school and pass some of your aptitude tests. So when it comes to, and we'll talk about the engineering college side in a second, but for the kids that want to learn the trades, like they want to go to Hines, Holmes, East Central and get a certificate or they want to come right out of high school and start working. What type of employees is Nissan looking for, and what are some of the things that are going to be screened in a hiring process?
So there's a test or a term called work keys. Are you familiar with work keys?
We actually, every 9th grader in Madison County Schools took that this semester.
Yeah. Work keys, work keys, work keys, work keys. Statistically, the high school students that do well from a work keys perspective are very employable when it comes to Nissan.
Wow.
So we're looking for people who are diligent. We're looking for hard workers. We're looking for people who have the retention of information and who can grow and progress further in the role. The previous VP that I took place, he was actually a technician on the line, and he worked his way up from being a technician to a VP. So when it comes to Nissan, the growth opportunities is unlimited. You can continue to grow. Work keys is the foundation. We are looking at, from a workforce development standpoint, of how do we integrate what we're doing from a technology base in the plant? How do we integrate that into the high school level? So we're looking at partnerships with the states. We had career coaches come to the plant. We've had all the superintendents come to the plant because we're looking at what does this workforce of the future look like? And we're on the electrification transformation here in Kansas. So we'll be launching EVs here in the next upcoming years. To build an EV is very different from building an ICE vehicle. So the skill sets that some of the high schoolers have is what we'll need when we start transitioning to this new workforce. And also, 80% of my workforce is eligible for retirement. So we're going to have a lot of people that are going to say, hey, I just want to go lay off on the beach in Miami somewhere and enjoy this hard work of years. And it would create a lot of job opportunities here in the state of Mississippi.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned work keys because they moaned and groaned about it, but all of our students took it. And we talked about how companies like Nissan, we're all about giving kids options. If they want to just go straight from high school and join a great company like Nissan, the work keys would be a great part of that. But one thing I do know, because we've had Gerald Self before talk about, there's going to be a drug test. They're going to screen your social media. So even if you are very talented and intelligent, there's certain things that are going to get you red flags when it comes to a place like Nissan.
Yeah. And that's key. So you're not only a good individual if you're talented, you also have to be a good steward within your community. And I think sometimes, people take that for granted, and they don't think that, hey, your social media is a footprint that you will never get rid of. So you have to be conscientious of what you post online and the things that you do and how your external brand and what that looks like. Because we're going to look at your external brand, and if it doesn't line up with what Nissan's culture is, then we don't want you to be part of our company.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned about the jobs of the future, and I talk about this all the time because I'm trying to get in these kids' heads. The things that were done when me and you were kids, when our grandparents were coming up, those, and this is a hardworking community, and we've had so many great students come through here that come from hardworking families, but those skills are kind of going to the wayside. Especially, I've been to the plant. You need people that can program robotics. You
Oh
need
yeah.
skilled welders. You need skilled electricians. And even if they want to just do the 1 or 2 year program at our local community colleges, that's skills that can pay a lot of money if they're willing to come and learn the Nissan way.
Yeah, and just that there's also low level coding that we'll be doing. There's also
I forgot about that. Yeah.
There's also when we're going to have a battery plant here, so there's testing, so there's quality testing from that standpoint, and then just the fact that here's the thing that the youth that are coming up now have that we don't have. So they're growing up in a smartphone world. I remember when the first cell phones were in the cars. They weren't in. We didn't have these mobile computers that we have right now. Well, a lot of our interface is right now is the human with the machine. So we have like tablets that is our complete form of communication. We're a paperless environment. So everything that we utilize is now digital. So if you are okay with the digital world, you will really foster in this environment. And when I say the man in the machine, we have cobots that work directly with the human. So you're assembling the part, you're working on your tablet, you're doing a quality test. There's a robot that's working right there simultaneously there with you. So it's the man and the machine and what the integration looks like. We have exoskeleton suits that help us from an ergo standpoint. So we have these suits that you wear that help us from bending and twisting, but it also allows you to lift weights properly and assemble vehicles properly as well too. So there's a lot of innovation and technology that we have that we've brought into the plant. One, because we are in the future, we are advanced manufacturing, but two, to make the work and the job a lot easier as well too. Building a vehicle today is a lot easier than it was in the past. And then 5 years from now, it's going to be more easy, but it's going to require a certain skill set. It's going to require a certain ability.
Yeah, and the cool thing, I don't know if you knew this, but Ridgeland High School and also at our Career Center, we've had some Velma Jackson students there that have the engineering academy right there. So they can get engineering certifications in high school. So all of our Ridgeland kids, I would encourage them to look into that. And then all of our other ones at our Career Center there by Germantown, they have the engineering and robotics that has a great partnership with Nissan, and they're looking for people that can get those certifications in high school and then move directly into the workforce.
Yeah, and we have technical roles right now. If you have certificates, that you can move right into a technical position. But even if you don't have the technical certificates, we will train you and develop you on site. We have a satellite training center, literally a stone throw away from where I am right now. And we send people through simulations. We have some different things that we train them on, and we have course curriculum that is there that is certified through Holmes Community College as well too. So. Wow. So when you get here, we're not just saying like, oh, okay, you're in this role. If you want growth and you're passionate, we'll provide that opportunity for you.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, we want to talk about engineering because we've had several kids. When you have an engineer, and I'm like, it's towards the end, but we're going to have somebody. So obviously, engineering is with IT has got to be one of the fastest growing fields in the world. And Mississippi, they can talk about Mississippi all they want. Mississippi's done a great job of having the Ole Miss, Jackson State, Alcorn, Mississippi State, Southern Miss all have forms of engineering now that are needed in a place like Nissan. Southern Miss have the polymer engineering. People kind of seem to forget about that one.
Yep.
Nissan polymer engineers. So obviously we see the people working on the big machines, but they're literally engineers that touch every single aspect of that manufacturing process. So if somebody's interested in becoming an engineer, what are some things that they're going to need to be ready for, and what types of careers are they looking at coming out of an engineering degree?
So you talked about Southern Miss, and I want to touch on that. So we partner with Southern Miss from a 3D printing standpoint and their polymer technology that they have, because they have some state-of-the-art technology that we have. So in the plant, we have design engineers, call them process engineers, that take 3D printed material and we do testing and trial before we send a vehicle to market. So that's one of the opportunities. And that's, if you know how to utilize a 3D printer and you have a mechanical aptitude, you're a step ahead of most, because everything starts in a phase process when it comes to 3D printing. So that's just one avenue. We have conveyor engineers, we have process engineers, we have industrial engineers, we have ergo engineers. We have so many different facets of when it comes to engineering. We have engineers that just focus on people and process. So How do we help people follow process continuously? We have equipment engineers that do the installation of the equipment and do major projects and installations. We have robotic engineers that just focus on the robots and the programming of that nature. And some of these engineers, and here's the interesting piece of it is we have traditional engineers. We also have manufacturing engineers where this is more of a certificate program. And you don't actually have to have an engineering degree. You just need to have a technical background to support it. So when it comes to engineers and technical resources, we would probably say at least 30 to 40% of our population is on the technical path. And that's because of all the automation that we're bringing into the plant. And with technical jobs, there's a lot of pay, and it's good pay, and it's comparable to engineering pay as well too. I think that the top out and one of the technical positions, just a regular technical position with certification, is like $36, $37 an hour, with the opportunity to make somewhere about $42 to $50 an hour as well too, with growth.
Wow, that's incredible. And also, you have chemical engineers that handle the paint.
Oh my God! Oh yeah, talk about that. So, and paint is almost like there's an art. So there's if we go through the chemical engineering facets from this standpoint, these are the ones that are looking at the viscosity when it comes to paint and what we can do. Like in our paint area, I mean, there's certain deodorants that you can wear because it has a chemical compound that reacts with the paint that can deteriorate.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so there's a whole process, and I would love for your students to come visit our plant so you can actually see a lot of this and process. But that's just the stuff that they have to study in order to understand what's the chemical compound to make the paint adhere. And there's an electrostatic process that we go through that makes the paint adhere to the metal and how much penetration we get. There's an e-coating process. And these are all calculations that our paint engineers work with our suppliers to get all these amazing, wonderful colors that we see on the vehicles that we have on the market. The more interesting the color, the more tedious the process in order to get the color to the vehicle.
Yeah, I'm sure our art teachers would understand that, because there's actually a science to that I don't think most people understand. Now, before I get to the students' questions, I do want to just talk about Nissan as a whole, because some of the benefits at Nissan are some of the best in the country. I mean, obviously, there's the things we see. You go to the plant. There's a bank on site. There's a post office on site. A gym. Ways to take care of your family with health insurance, dental insurance. So just talk about some of the things that Nissan has to offer, because so many of these kids are like, I want to get the heck out of Dodge, and that's great. But there are opportunities to support a family right here in Madison County.
It is. So we have tuition reimbursement if you want to continue to go off into school, and that's any facet. So let's just say, hey, I work at Nissan, but my aspirations is to be a nurse or a doctor. We will support you from a tuition reimbursement standpoint. So we have tuition reimbursement. We have a retirement program, which we call a CAR, where if you invest into the 401k, which is traditional, Nissan then at the end of every year will make a lump sum investment towards your retirement. So we have a retirement program, which we call the Nissan CAR program, which is additional to the regular 401k. You just mentioned we have a gym on site. We also have wellness coaches on site that focus on people's whole overall well-being. We have massage therapy on site as well too, because we have a lot of moving components and moving individuals. So if you're on break and you want to go get a massage from a wellness coach, you can go and get a massage, and you can do those things. And there's different activities that can schedule externally with you outside of work as well too. We have the bank on site. You already mentioned that. And then we have special programs if you're a first-time buyer of a home, where Nissan can work with Bank Plus because we're all about allowing you to take these funds and go out and be great stewards in the community. We have a lease car program, and this is probably one of the kickers from this standpoint. This is a lease car program where you can get anything in the Nissan or Infinity fleet, and you get 30,000 miles within a year to drive this vehicle, and it just comes out of your paycheck. And it's at a lease car discounted rate. So for example, and hopefully nobody on here is from the news, but let's just say I wanted an Infinity sports car. Well, more than likely I can lease that for maybe $130 a month and pay my regular insurance, whoever my regular insurance provider is. But if I was to buy this car from the dealership, it could be upwards of like $400 to $500 a month just to do it. But with this lease car program, and then every year I can switch out this vehicle, anything in the Nissan fleet or the Infinity fleet, to have a new vehicle. And it also works for friends and family. So you can lease up to 5 vehicles within a household. So when you're
Yeah.
seeing all these employees with these new vehicles, it's a lot of because they're utilizing our lease program.
Unbelievable. That is incredible. Wow. Well, I do have some really good questions from the students. So I'll get to as many of these as I can. This first one's really good. This is Willie Clay, one of our football players here at Velma Jackson. And this is and most of these are ninth graders. So
Okay.
glad they're thinking about this stuff now. But he asked, what engineering skills have you developed or improved upon in the last year?
So I would say battery technology. We're very hyper focused on obviously getting to a solid state battery, and we're there, right? So when it comes to solid state, we're there. Now, getting solid state and actually having sustainable where you can get 500 miles out of a charge, well, we're getting close to being there, but we put in a lot of efforts around battery and reducing our carbon footprint and making Nissan a company that's focused on sustainability.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, the cool thing about one of the cool things about this field is it's never the same thing every day. There really are problems to solve every day. And I think I can speak for all the other teachers is that very rarely do you guys get it right the first time, but that's actually built into the engineering design process you have in the curriculum. It actually plans for fixing mistakes. So that really would be a lot of fun. It's like you're putting together a puzzle every day.
It is. Every day is a new adventure.
Here's a good one. This is Marquise Newell. He's a member of our band here. And he asked, if you could have gone to a different HBCU or a different college than Alcorn, would you have gone somewhere else and gotten a different degree?
Wow, that's an interesting question. So I had offers to go to U of I in Champaign-Urbana. I had offers to go to UIC, that's in Chicago. I had offers to go to Florida State, obviously that's in Miami. And I had offered, well, there was a couple other different offers. I had Iowa State as well too. The reason why I went to Alcorn is because of one of my high school teachers was from Fayette, Mississippi. Actually, same place where Natalie is from, and he left such an impact on me that I had to see what was his journey and how did he get to the place where he was. So that influence from high school is the main reason why I went to Alcorn, because I was going to go to a college in a major city because I didn't know a lot about the South, but I'm glad I made the decision.
That's incredible. And I think that's important. Everybody says, well, Alcorn's out in the country, which is an adjustment, especially if you're from a place like Sacramento. But when it comes to, the family atmosphere, I've heard just so many people say, it's all of what you make of.
Yep.
Here's a great question. And she has two. This is Michaela Dawson, one of our cheerleaders here. And she asked, I'll do the first question first. She asked, what are the key responsibilities and challenges that come with your new role as vice president?
So I like to think that I am more of a roadblock eliminator. So when people come to me with challenges, when they've exhausted all the possibilities, then I come up with, okay, let me eliminate the roadblocks. But I'll tell you, some of the challenges that we're seeing is the industry is changing, right? So we're going to electrification and, everyone's not bought into that. That's a challenge. We're also seeing some of the things that are going on up north where, the big three and some of the challenges that they're seeing as well too. That impacts us here in Mississippi as well. So how do we address those concerns? How do we continue to focus on the workforce of the future? We just got labeled as a great place to work. We just got that award just here recently from a Nissan in the Americas. So how do I consistently keep that environment where people want to come to work and that they're actually very happy as well? That's a challenge because everybody's different.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because one thing I always say, and I think the other teachers again I can speak for all of them on this one, is that even though the technical skills are important, the people skills are just as important because you have to work as a team at a place like Nissan.
Yeah.
One thing I always do is I choose the groups and I make them work with people they may not be as comfortable with on projects. And it's not to be mean, but I say, look, you ain't got to be friends with somebody, but if you got a job to do together, you've got to learn to work with all kind of different people.
That's very true.
And now here's the second part of Michaela's question. And she asked, on your journey as an engineer, what led you to focus on the automotive industry?
So I've worked for General Mills in food manufacturing. I've worked for pharmaceutical companies in pharmaceutical distribution. I've worked in bottling and wine companies. Um, the automotive industry, two reasons. First, personal. Coming to Nissan made me feel like family. It's a very family-oriented environment. And before I came to Nissan, I had never worked in the automotive industry before.
Wow.
Nissan Canton makes you feel like family. So that's what helped me stay. And what's continued to make me grow is all the innovation and all the technology and everything every day is a new adventure. And here's the thing. I've ventured off from engineering and now I'm in the operation side. So but as a VP, you wear multiple different hats. So I'm part of the new model launch and the new vehicles that we're bringing from Japan. But it's
Wow, that's cool.
always the cutting edge technology and the things that we have going on, which motivates me to stay.
That's awesome. Here's a great question. This is Javion Fields, another one of our football players here. And he asked, what's the most challenging engineering project you've ever worked on?
Oh man, it's been so many. I would say I'm going to say, and for the second time, I'll say two. So if you've ever had, and this is not going to be in the automotive industry, this is going to be in a completely different industry. If you've ever had a flat bottom taco shell, which is called Stand and Stuff by Old El Paso.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was part of the design team that made the equipment that actually makes the taco shell flat.
Wow.
So if you dig very deep and you're very nosy, you can find that I'm on a patent with a bunch of different individuals that for the Stand and Stuff taco shell. So that was probably one of the most difficult processes because taco shells have masa, water, salt, all these different things. And the curvation is based upon heat, time, process, so on and so forth. I'm a big nerd, so I can really get into this kind of stuff.
I never would have thought about that.
But to make a contour flat bottom taco shell, it took a lot. It took us months of processes of failures and successes. General Mills at some point didn't think that we were actually going to be successful in this process, but we pulled the team together. And in the end, we have a product that you can buy on your store shelves right now.
Wow. And that's a perfect example. Literally every industry needs engineers. So the food that we eat, there were engineers behind the scenes that really made this stuff happen. All right, just got one more. And I hate I can't get to all of them, but we're running short on time. This is Joel Fleming, one of our basketball players here. And he asked, even though you do different things every day, what does a typical day look like?
Oh man, that's a great question. So it varies. So I'm going to be 100% honest. Transparency is probably one of my fatal flaws because I always tell the truth because I can't remember lies. My days vary because we are a global company. So I have meetings with Japan. I have meetings with people in the UK. I have meetings with people in India, and I have meetings with people in the Americas as well too. So there may be days where my day may start at 4 a.m. because I have a meeting with Japan, and it may be morning for me, but that's the end of the day for them. So my days vary. Some days, but around 5 a.m., I may have my first set of meetings that begin with my day. Around 8, I'm getting into some of the logistics of the plant and what's going on from the plant environment. And then about 9, I'm actually on the plant floor, just engaging the folks and spending time with them, learning about what's going on with them and their families and so on and so forth. And then I have meetings in between. But then around noon, we block off our calendars and we make sure that we, have some downtime for ourselves.
Wow.
And so it's a balance from that standpoint. Like right after I get off this call, we're going to go celebrate one of my staff's birthdays because we like to recognize individuals for, look, we work hard, we want to play hard as well too. So we take those things. A work-life balance is critical. So we take those things very seriously. Fridays, we don't have any meetings. Fridays is a no meeting Friday. Friday is spending time on the floor, engaging with your staff, spending time reflecting on how we can make this place better.
Yeah, and again, even though we all see the finished product, you always have to remember when it comes to something like automotive, you have to make things over and over again, but it has to be as close to perfect as possible because people are spending a lot of money for these vehicles, and it also has people's lives are at risk and people's livelihood is at risk. People need ways to get to work. People have to be safe in accidents. So there really is so much care and precision that goes into it.
It is. It's a lot of details, it's a lot of testing, a lot of man hours. Every vehicle that we produce in this plant, we test drive it. It goes through 60 to 70 different quality verifications and testing. There's so many human elements and touch points. Now, there's a lot of automation as well right now that we use for quality verification as well too. But every vehicle is driven. It's driven on a test track. It's driven on the highway. We validate it to that point to make sure that there's nothing that would negatively impact our customers.
That's awesome. Now we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for fitting us in today. But before we go, just a couple things. One, why should these kids really look into the engineering field? And two, why should they really look into a great career at Nissan?
Okay. So first one, the engineering field. If you like to solve problems, if you're not afraid of math, if you're mechanically inclined, engineering is for you. If you like to take things apart and put it back together again, or if you're creative and you're innovative, engineering is for you. The math just comes in, it's a bonus. With math, you can solve any problem. That's what's key. Why come to Nissan? Nissan's cutting edge. I would have never left Mississippi and gone to all these different places after college if I knew that Nissan existed. So if someone would have gave me this same sales pitch 20 some odd years ago, I would have been sitting here talking to you and saying, hey, this is my 20th year here at Nissan, and I really appreciate this. It would be a completely different story. So then, therefore, now I'm giving you this sales pitch of saying, hey, you can have a wonderful and amazing career here at Nissan. I've seen my engineers, because I started off in engineering, I've seen my engineers grow from fresh out of college to now having a family, having a home right here down here in Madison. I've seen my technicians do the exact same thing. So the growth and opportunity is endless. We are a family, and it's an amazing place to work.
Absolutely. Well, again, we thank you so much for joining us. I know they stopped the tours for a while. We got to get down there and check it out. So Victor Taylor, Vice President of Manufacturing right there at Nissan North America in Canton. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for taking out time out of your day, and I really appreciate this opportunity of getting in front of you and your students and your YouTube fans. Hopefully this goes viral and everybody goes out and buy Nissan and comes here to work.
All right, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
See ya.